you guys, for this look we're gonna start off with brows, and I'm gonna do like a full brow tutorial in this full face tutorial for you guys. And I'm going back to my old Fabry Brow pencil from Jordana Cosmetics in the shade dark brown, and I'm gonna go ahead and outline the bottom part of my brow and also outline the top part of my brow, and this way kind of create a brow shape around my natural brow. Then I'm gonna go in and fill in the tail end part of my brow. Once you have this done, or once I have this done, I go in with a mascara wand or a spoolie brush, and I just blend in that product. If you don't like to do the concealer, cleanup thing, you do not have to do it, but I do. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with my LA Girl Pro HD concealer in the shade Fawn and clean up my brow. Alright, so I'm just gonna go right under my brow just to make it look a bit more sharp, a bit more defined. Okay, you can use any product you want. You can even use foundation to do this. You can use your foundation shade to do this. You can get a concealer in your shade to do this. It does not have to be, a shade or half shade light. It could be, your exact complexion if that's what you like. But I like for it to be a bit lighter than my complexion, just so that the under part of my brow can stand out a bit more. Okay, and then once I have that product on, I'm just going to go in with a concealer brush. This one is from the OPV 30-piece brush set, and I'm just going to go in and clean up that concealer. For the top part of the brow, I'm going to be using my Maybelline Fit Me Poreless Matte Foundation in the shade Cappuccino, and I'm just going to apply this to the top part and clean it up because I want this to be a very defined brow. It's been a while since I've cleaned up my brow. I kind of cheated, I guess, a little, and just plucked the unibrow part and just kind of cleaned it up just a bit with my tweezers, so I didn't have to do the cream product or the cream technique that I do. If you guys are interested in that, I'll put a link down below on how I clean up my brows at home. Okay, but I'm gonna use my concealer and apply this to the inner outer part and the transition area, and then blend it out using this foundation brush, also from OPV. And this is just gonna help cancel out the discoloration, darkness, dark circles, and kind of make that canvas a bit smoother for the colors that we will be using. Now I'm gonna go in with my LA Girl Pro primer in the shade Nude, and I'm just gonna apply that mostly on the lid. Then I'm gonna go in with that concealer brush and blend out the edges and blend it in with that concealer that we applied. Now for palette, the shadows that we will be using, I'm using this Makeup Addiction palette, and this is their vintage palette. I just got this like 2 days ago, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm gonna use that kind of pale seashell color and apply that to the lid with a shadow brush and just blend this out and kind of soften out the edges a bit. Then I'm gonna go with this Aqua XL eyeliner from Makeup Forever. I'll list all the numbers of the colors that I use down below in the description box. Okay, and I'm gonna use that liner to create my cut crease. You do want this line to be a bit more on the perfect side. Okay, just so try to get it as neat as possible. And as you guys can see, I'm extending it all the way out and not connecting it like you usually would do a traditional cut crease. So this one is kind of like a open-ended cut crease. Not sure what else you would call it. So I'm gonna go in with this liner brush and kind of smooth out that line just a bit. Then I'm gonna go in with my Flaming Love palette from Makeup Addiction and this kind of blending brush. I call this a flat blending brush, and I'm gonna use that brick shade and apply that right above the line and blend it into my transition area. This will help set that line in place so it doesn't move. And then once I'm done blending that out, I'm gonna go over that line again so it can look a bit more defined. Alright, so as you guys can see, I kind of tilt my head just to make it a bit easier to apply that line again. Then I'm going to go in with some more of that pale shadow and clean it up a bit. And then I'm going to go in with my blending brush. This is more of a fluffy blending brush, also from the OPV 30-piece set. And just blend out my transition area so it could look a bit more smooth. And just kind of extend that line just a bit there from the cut crease. Now I'm going to go in with my NYC liquid liner. And this is my favorite liquid liner, not gel liner. And I'm going to go in and create a very thin winged out line. Okay. You might want to take your time with this one since we're basically dealing with two wings at the end of this. I don't want them to be connected, but I do want them to be very close. Okay, once I have my wing liner done, I'm going to go in with my Wet n Wild Volume Max Volume Mascara and apply that to my lashes. This will help take away some of that dusty look that the shadow kind of left on my lashes. And I'm going to go in and apply some concealer under my eye and use my fingers to blend that out. Then I'm going to go in with this other Aqua XL liner pencil from Makeup Forever, and this is from their new line of Aqua XL pencils. This is my first time ever using these types of pencils, so if I'm not saying the name correctly, I am so sorry. But I'm gonna go in with this beautiful baby blue shade and apply that to my waterline. Then I'm gonna go in with this kind of Tiffany shade color and also apply that on top of that baby blue in my waterline. This is gonna give it a nice mixture of the two colors. For mascara, I'm using two mascaras. I'm using the Pure Fully Charged, and then I'm going in with my Max Volume because I like the formula of the Pure and I like the wand of my Max Volume. Alright, so as you guys could see, the combination of the two mascaras really helps my bottom lashes and makes them appear a lot fuller and give me a lot more to work with. For lashes, I'm using the lashes that I used in my last tutorial from a company called Trendy Makeovers in the style Deja or Deja, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. And I'm just going to pop them onto my eyes and then kind of push them in there. Okay, the tool that I'm using is called scissor tweezers. I'll put a link to them down below in the description box. And these are the brushes that I was using for my eyes from OPV. There was one Coastal Scents brush, which was the liner brush that I used to clean up my cut crease. Now I'm going to go in with some color correcting, and I'm just going to blend this out in areas where I have hyperpigmentation, some discoloration, dark marks, you know, acne marks, things like that. Now for foundation, I'm using my Maybelline Fit Me foundation in the shade Cappuccino, and this is the matte poreless finish, and I really do like it a lot. One thing I have noticed, you might not want to put on way too much of this because it does start looking very cakey. So, you know, try to do as much color correcting as you can if you have any discoloration before applying this, because you don't want to overdo it with this foundation because it can look very dry and cakey on the skin, okay? Alright, so the stippling brush I'm also using from OPV, and then I'm going to go in with this Maybelline Fit Me concealer in the shade Cafe. I've had this for a while and I think it's time for a new one because I felt as though the color looked a bit off, but I'm just going to use it anyway since it's already recorded and I'm not going to record the whole thing again. Now I'm going to go in with this smaller stippling brush and I'm going to use this to blend out that concealer. I start by blending out the edges of the concealer and blending it in with my foundation, and then I work my way up by squeezing the brush so I can get into those tighter spaces under my eye area and get closer so I can blend it up all the way up to under my eye area. Alright you guys, once that I have my concealer blended out, I'm going to go in and set it using my Ben Nye Neutral Set Powder. It's just a clear powder. It looks white, but it's clear. It dries clear. And then once I have that done, I'm going to go in and highlight the bridge part of my nose very lightly, my Cupid's bow area, and then I'm just going to blend it out using my finger. Okay, now for contour, I'm using my L'Oreal Infallible powder in the shade Cocoa, and I'm gonna go in with this contouring brush that also came in that OPV brush set. Basically, all the brushes you'll need comes in that set. I don't think you need to buy any other brush once you have that set. Okay, me on the other hand, I collect brushes, so one set is not enough. Alright, so as you guys can see, I contoured my cheekbone area, and I'm also going to go ahead and do that around my hairline area. This is basically just adding the shapes back into my face and, you know, making it look like I was out in the sun, got some sun, you know, in my life. Alright, I'm also going to go ahead and blend out that concealer, which I kind of forgot to blend out, so I blended it out there. And I'm using whatever product is left on that contouring brush to lightly contour my nose. I squeezed the brush to kind of help it, you know, make it easier for me to give my nose a more defined contour, but without having very harsh lines on it, okay? Now I'm going to go in with this large powder brush and just brush off all that excess powder. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and start with a little bit of this blush. This is a NYC color blush. It's called Nolita Pink. I've had this in my makeup stash for what, a year or so now, and I've never touched it. This is the first time I've ever used it. It's a very pretty color. It kind of reminds me of my NARS Lovejoy. For highlight, I'm using my Becca highlight in the shade Opal, and I'm using this is actually a small contouring brush. I think they call it in the set, but it's perfect for highlighting. So I'm just going to use that to highlight my cheekbones, and then I'm using a bit of that highlight to add to the center part of my nose and then the tip of my nose. This will kind of help bring most of the light to the center part of your nose and make your nose appear straighter, more defined. So that's why I'm doing that. Okay, so now for lips, I'm using the OPV liquid lipsticks in the shade Soho and Sassy Girl. I think it's Soho Secret and Sassy Girl. And first I put on the Soho Secret, and then I put on Sassy Girl to darken it a bit because it was a bit too pasty looking. So I kind of blended those two to give it kind of like a light ombre effect. The only issue I had with this lipstick is it's a bit liquidy. It's not as thick, but it did cover well, which I do like. But it was a different type of formula. Obviously, it's from a different company, but you know, it was a very liquidy formula. That's what I want to say. Okay, but once it dried, it looked absolutely beautiful. So it's just something I'll have to get used to. Now I'm gonna go in with some foundation, clean up around my mouth area to make it look nice and even, and then I'm gonna set it with some of my Ben Nye Neutral Set powder. I'm gonna take off my pajamas because that's what I had on the whole time, dust off all that excess powder, and take some pictures for the gram. Okay, make sure you guys follow me on Instagram. And that's your final look. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, make sure you give me a like or a thumbs up and comment down below, and make sure you subscribe to my channel. I love you guys, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye.